Okay, anytime you want to start.
Okay. Sisanam Koda Kuna Kara
Okay. I know, it's difficult, I know.
Koda
Kuna Rider.
Koda
YouTube
Kuna
channel. You're
Rider.
on the Koda
Okay.
Kuna Rider YouTube channel.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Sisanam Koda Kuna Kaina YouTube channel.
Well, the weather hasn't changed. It's been raining all day. It's just in the afternoon. It's raining a little bit again now. And rainy season just continues and continues and continues in Japan. But that doesn't matter because we have something to do. So today, I want to take off the rear wheel and check everything's okay. So let's get into it. So today we're going to pull off the rear wheel. Sorry if you can hear a few cars going past at the moment. I'm in the garage because it's been raining and I've got the shutter up to let some light in. It's pretty dark outside, so I hope you can see okay. So today we're going to take this rear wheel off. We're going to check that everything's okay before we put it back together. So it might be a little bit daunting for some people to pull this off. You've got your rear diff here. You've got your shocker. There's motorbikes and everything going past. You've got your shocker here. You've got your rear wheel. Over this side, we've got our brake caliper. We've got our shocker. So it's a little bit daunting to some people. So I'll try and take you through carefully. So if you need to take your wheel off to change your tire, if you need to change it off, take it off to do anything at all, repairs, cleaning, anything, let you know. So let's get into it. So first off, let's take off the shocker this side and the other side, and that'll allow the wheel to drop down a little bit and free it up, which will give us enough room then to get it out. And just under here, there's just enough room to get it out. I'll show you what, oh, there goes the car. I'll show you what you have to do to get it out under here, but let's first take these shocks off. Sorry. So to take this shock off, you've got a nut here, a 17mm nut, and the top in here you've got a 10mm bolt to take off. And then you can slide this shock absorber straight out. So you can't get a socket on here because your muffler is in the way, so you'll need an open ring spanner, 17mm, and then, but you can use a normal socket, 10mm socket, to get the top off here. You got your nut. So here's the washer and the nut off the bottom of the shock, and here's our bolt that goes in. So there we have our 10mm bolt, and we have this, it's only really a washer, but it's got a flat end here, hold there, and it goes against our rubber here in the shock to keep it on. So then that will just pull off like that, and our shock will just slide off as easy as that. So now this should come off, there we go. And it'll just slide off there, and there's one. So simple. So if you're worried about all these, bolts and washers, where they go, you can just slip them back in where they go. A couple of turns. Put this back on the bottom stud that's coming out. And your nut, 17mm back there. Like that, just a couple of turns, and then you won't lose them. Okay, so now, as you can see, this side is a little bit more complicated. We've got our brake caliper, stabilizing arm for the brake caliper running through there. we've got our shock absorber here, but it's really not that more complicated if you just take your time. So first, let's take off this shock absorber just like we did on the other side, and then we'll move on to our brake calipers, okay? So we're going to take this off now, this shock. The wheel might drop down, but don't worry because we've got it on the center stand, so it's not going to go anywhere, okay? Okay, so first off, we want to take our brake caliper off, but what we also need to do is take this split pin out and this little stabilizing bar here, because otherwise when we go to pull our rear wheel off, you won't be able to get the wheel out. So just trust me on this one. Some people have tried to spin it out of the way and get the wheel out. It's just not worth it. So take this 10mm bolt out of here, or 12mm, we'll check that. Nut and bolt out of here, take the split pin, and then we can remove this bolt here, 12mm going through here, and this 12mm going through here, which will release our brake caliper, and we can just sit that out of the way. So let's get that done. Now when you pull these split pin out, I advise you always to put a new one in if you can. Sometimes you don't have one around with you and you have to take it out, but whenever you can, always replace your split pins just for safety. You're on a bike, so if you can, try and do that. Oh, it looks like it's a 12mm. See if we can get it off without putting it. Oh no, I need to get a... Oh no, I can. There we go. You might have to get a spanner to put on that other side sometimes, but I was lucky today. So there is our 12mm nut bolt. So there it pulls out the way. Same thing, if you're not sure, just put it back in there, but I'll just put it on the ground now. Okay, so now we're ready to take off our brake caliper. So don't be scared about taking off your brake caliper. You're not going to leak any fluid, you're not disconnecting anything, you're just taking it off this disc here. There we go, there's one. There's our second one. You'll see they're exactly the same, so you don't have to worry which one goes back in where, exactly the same. Now we're ready to slide this off. And there we go, there's our brake. So when we've got that off, we can check our brakes. Our brake pads are still okay. They've still got plenty of meat on them there. You can wire it up. It's better, there we go. So you're not pulling on your hose as best. You should always try not to pull on your hose. So, now I've got everything disconnected ready. So what we're ready to do now is pull out this big bar that runs all the way through. So here we've got the main nut for the rear axle, shaft that runs through the center. We've got a split pin again. We want to take the split pin out, and then we want to take this big nut off. Now this split pin, this big axle bolt shaft that goes through on this side, it's got a locking nut here which binds all that together, so it won't turn when we're going to undo this nut. Okay, so let's take the split pin out again. Remember, when we put it back together, we want to try and put a new split pin in there if you've got one. Let's take that out. undo the nut, and then we can get onto the other side. There we go. Okay, so to take this nut off here, we need a 27mm. So if you can use a spanner to get this off. You're probably going to get more leverage from a spanner, and you can see now that center shaft is not moving because we've still got the locking pin on the other side. So you can undo it with a spanner if you want, or you can put a socket on it. So now it's time to start paying attention to washers and things when you pull it off. So we've got our big nut for our axle. Then we have our big washer that goes on first over the aluminium, okay? So you're not just going to put your nut straight on, you need a washer. Okay, if you lose that one, you're going to have to find one. It doesn't have to be as thick, but you'll need a washer, okay? So now we're ready to take this side apart to remove our axle. So you'll see here, we've got this frame running up here that I can move around. This is the support for our brake caliper. And then inside here, there's a washer too. So we have to pay attention to how we pull this apart for when you put it back together. And I'll show you why, because it's got spaces and everything. So I'll show you why. But for now, we either have to take this bolt out. Now I've got a hex head bolt in here. You might have a 10 or a 12mm headed bolt. I've just put this in once. So let's remove this, which will free up this here, and then we can remove that axle out. There we go. So now, in theory, this is going to come apart. But as you'll see, I still can't move that because this is a little bit too close together, crimped after all those years of not taking it out. So you might have to get a little screwdriver or a little bar, just put it in here, just tap it in gently. That's going to open this up here enough. We're going to pull that out to release the pressure there, okay? Now it's still a little bit stuck, so we're going to go and start knocking it out on the other side. So I'm going to knock it out on the other side, and you'll be able to see it just sliding out here. Now, you don't want to get this and go bang, 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 because you'll muck up your threads. So gently, I'm just putting that there. You see, it's not going to take much. Bang, bang, bang. Right, now my back wheel is sitting on the ground. It's just sitting there. So there's going to be no pressure on this to release. The wheel's not going to drop down. So just gently tap that out. Now we've really got to watch how this comes apart here. So the axle's sliding out. We'll have a look at that axle in a minute. So we've got a washer between, this is our support for our brake caliper. We've got a washer between the brake caliper and the swing arm there. Okay? And in here, we've got a spacer. Now we've really got to watch how this comes apart here. So the axle's sliding out. We'll have a look at that axle in a minute. So we've got a washer between, this is our support for our brake caliper. We've got a washer between the brake caliper and the swing arm there. Okay? And in here, we've got a spacer. As you can see here, we've got our spacer that goes in against the wheel. The seal is here, a grease seal against the bearing. Then we've got this alloy frame that holds our brake caliper. Then we have our washer that goes on this side. And then we have our axle sliding through, holding it all together like that. Okay? Spacer, brake caliper support, washer. Okay? So you might be wondering now, what is holding the wheel there that it hasn't dropped off? Why is it still sitting there? Two reasons. It's sitting on the ground, and the next reason is that in between here and here is our gears that drive the wheel. So our shaft comes down here, spins around, turns the gear in here, which spins our wheel around. So I've got gears together. Now they're not bolted together with our axle out. There's no pressure. It'll slide. But what I want, so you can see we just wobble a little bit. And there it is. So here now you can see this is where the gears, your main drive gears, it goes into your axle here and diff. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's one of your rear wheel bearings, and this is where your rear axle slides through. So now we're free. The wheel's free, but we've got to get it out. So you can see here, I'm just hitting a little bit, see there? Now, the manual will probably tell you to remove your rear mudguard here, or at least this rear light setup. You can get it out without doing that. You've just got to be a little bit careful, okay, but we can get it out. So I'm going to show you that you don't need to take all this off. I could jack the bike up a little bit higher if I want, carefully, but let's see if I can get this out and show you what I mean. So here we're all free. See, I've tilted the wheel over here, past. I've got my disc pass, I've got that pass there, and look. And it's off, as simple as that. We're all off. And our wheel is off. And I never needed to take off this rear mudguard, the light, nothing. So you just have to do it carefully. So let's have a, now that we've got it off, let's have a look at everything associated with the bike. So here is our, can you see right in the center there? There's where our axle goes. And here is your main drive from your diff. Your shaft comes down here. Your axle here converts it from rotating one way to then changing the direction to give us drive going forward. So that's the gears that on our wheel we've got to slide together. So when we slide it together, you want to put a little bit of grease, not too much, just a little bit of grease on this here. This is one of your seals, see here, it's a rubber seal. It's soft. It goes around here and seals everything off. So you can unbolt this if you want to work on your diff and change, but that's all held together. There's a seal there for your diff oil. So you remember how we've changed our diff oil before here. That's it. So that's it. This is your big swing arm. Goes forward with a big bolt there. So it's very, very simple. This is your exhaust, your collection pipe there, everything. So let's have a look at here. This is your big plastic dust cover. Oh. This is your big plastic dust cover. Seals it all off from the dust. This is your gear, your axle, your bearing. Look at this side. Here you've got your rear disc that's held on with these studs here, so very easy to change if you want to. There's where the axle goes and your seal. This is a seal here, your grease and dust seal, and your bearing there. I've changed my bearings before, so that's why that's a little bit different color there. And that's all it is. Now, if you're wondering what tire I'm running, of course, I'm running Bridgestone. I love Bridgestones. Mine are 150, 90, 15M / C74V. So etc. G526. I always run Bridgestone. I love Bridgestones. I love Bridgestone. So that's it. It's all apart. No. Now we're going to put it all back together. So it's exactly reversed as what we did. You've just got to be a little bit careful, a couple of things. So let's put it all back together and I'll show you. So here we go, sliding it back together. So remember, we've just got to go in a bit of an angle here to get past our frame, past our axle mount there. Look at that, it's sliding in together. Main thing with these things is not to hurry. There we go. See, it's all slid in there. No problems, no stress. Main thing with these things is not to hurry. There we go. See, it's all just slid in there. No problems, no stress, no problems. Now the next thing we've got to do, this gear inside here lined up, and the wheel then will come across. You get my legs under here and just lift this up a little bit and tung. If I can do this with a bung leg, anybody can do it. I hope you can see this line up. So just be gentle. The main thing always is gentle. Okay, so I'm just sliding there in the gear, just turn. Look at that. See that? It just slid together as easy as like that. So it's all back together, gentle. If you've got to bang something, you're not doing it right. Slide it together gently. So, we've got our axle. Just slide your axle in here a little bit. Just a little bit like that. Okay? Now, first off, we've got to put our washer. First, so now we've got our axle in there. The spacer, slide it in there. Remember, with this little bit of alloy that's sticking out goes inwards. And so now you'll see that's very flat here, okay? Don't forget your alloy. So then we've got this part for our brakes that holds our calipers. Just slide that in there. A little bit of fun going all together now. Then we've got our washer in between here. Okay, so now slide your axle in. Oh, there we go. Got it there, I got it there, and I got it there, and look at that. So just tap that in gently. Gently, gently. Coming out here now. Now you can hear the noise change. I'm all the way through it. You know now we've got to take our screwdriver out. Slide my hex bolt back there. Okay, so I checked in the book here. Our nut here, we need to do it to 120 Newton meters or 85 feet-pounds. We've got our flat washer, it can go on either way. Then we've got our nut. Now 120 Newton meters is pretty tight. So now I get my wrench. Okay, so here's my wrench, and you'll see here I've got it set at 120 Newton meters. When you're doing it up, you're doing it clockwise. Hopefully we'll hear it click. There we go. That's 120 Newton meters. Lock that down, and my axle's all done. We'll put a split pinion over there in a sec, but my axle's all done. So let's make sure everything's tight. Our locking pin on our axle. tight. Now we can slide our caliper back in. Make sure your two brake pads are pushed apart. There they go. Plug back in. Now whenever you're sliding things back in like this, make sure you get all your bolts in first before you tighten them up. Okay, so both bolts are on our caliper now. Now you can tighten them all up. So these will have a torque wrench setting too. I always just do these up just so they're nice and tight, like that. But what I'll do at the end of this tape, I'll put all the tension settings, so if you need to check, you can. Oops. Slide it on. Washer, nut. And always remember, we've had that brake caliper off, so just give your rear brake a little pump. Make sure that they're all working properly. And that's it. It's all back together. So I hope if you're thinking about pulling off your rear wheel to change your tyre, change your, your bearings, do anything, clean it up, you'll see how simple it is. Thanks a lot. I hope this is helpful for you. Drive like you know each other, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Please like and subscribe. And always remember, drive like you know each other. See you next time. Bye-bye. Ha 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 ha!